Evolution is the foundation of an immoral worldview. On the subject of morality, it's important to remember that there are two types of evolutionists. Those who believe in morals, some atheists and all theists. This is basically just going to be a quick note. There's a difference between actually having morals and believing in morals. Some atheists don't believe morals exist, but by Christian standards, with maybe the exception of believe in God, actually have morals that Christians believe in. And most of the Christians, it seems, or more Christians than atheists, seems don't believe the morals that they state, because it's just solely judging by the people I know around me and the prison populations, at least in the U.S. Those who believe there is no such thing as morality, right and wrong. Some atheists. Absolute morality, that is. And that isn't only for atheists. Many theists think that as well, because they hold anti-murder as an absolute moral, but a good number have no qualms about killing others who believe something different or perform abortions, like to save the lives of the women. In establishing that evolution is the foundation of an immoral worldview, there needs to be such a thing as immorality. It is uncommon for an atheist to admit that there is no such thing as morality. Therefore, this response will deal with those who acknowledge morality and leave discussion of a worldview void of morality for a different page video. I want to know where that page is, because I've had a frickin' hard time finding it. Evolution is descriptive. It can only be described as immoral if attempting to accurately describe nature as immoral. Evolution, in and of itself, is not immoral, but it tends to remove the foundation for morality, thereby leading to immorality. Same way, being Republican is not being a Nazi, but it tends to remove the foundations for tolerance and acceptance, thereby leading to Nazism. I don't think you still wish to use the argument, though, do you? Because you're probably a Republican. If evolution were true, then describing it would not be immoral. Two things. One, it's probably true. Two, describing anything, no matter what it is not immoral. However, just as we have seen in the real world, this description has provided a convincing justification, if not motivation, for the grossest immorality you can imagine in human history, including eugenics, wrong, genocide, wrong, and social Darwinism. Wrong. Any morals derived from evolution would have to recognize the fact that humans have evolved to be social animals. In a social setting, cooperation and even altruism lead to better fitness. The process of evolution leads naturally to social animals such as humans developing ethical principles such as the Golden Rule. There are some cases in which natural selection would favor cooperation and perhaps altruism. I know of two cases. Case number one, survival. Case number two, reproduction. It is equally true, though, that natural selection has mostly favored the greedy, because everybody loves a person who likes stuff more than other people. Selfish, because obviously we don't like being cared for, and sexually violent. Because in all of history, there has never been a single time where people haven't found a way to make their own abortions. In other words, any morals derived from evolution would have to recognize the fact that no behavior can be guaranteed right or wrong. What kind of behavior that isn't do unto others as you would have them do unto you, which is intrinsically selfish, is intrinsically wrong. All the examples I know of are all derived because you won't want people to do it to you, so you don't do it to people. That is a very good example of what you don't think exists. Cooperation and altruism are more or less virtuous than greed or selfishness in the grand scheme of history. In the grand scheme of history, all the vast majority of the world knows is the bad things that happened, because bad things that happened are the things that are historical. If most of what happened wasn't the bad things, then history class would be really boring, nobody would ever take it, and history would be dead, history would be non-existent. John Smith saved a kitty from a tree. Frederick Jones helped his neighbor across the street. Nobody cares. The average mentality of the high schooler who was learning that stuff would be this: just kill me. Even as an abstract argument, evolution reduces morality to just another biological attribute. Everything we do is theoretically biological, because even a creationist has to accept that nothing you do isn't influenced by the brain, which is biological, by definition. A simple matter of predicating it on the condition that it helps us survive. What is the best for others will likely be the best for us as well in the long term, because people don't like thinking in the long term, but the long term is actually beneficial to think in. We help others because we have an unconscious belief that if we help them, they'll help us in the future. Like, if we save them from drowning, they'll be more inclined to save us from drowning, or our children from drowning if we're already dead, but we're not dead by the time we rescue them. Any moral code, then, must get its basis in terms of better fitness. And what is this basis in natural selection but survival and reproduction? What argument can you use against the guy who wants to steal your car? Don't do that! It's not in your genes! This is counterproductive to the survival of our gene pool. Well, you could say, if you steal my car, I'm going to make sure you get thrown in jail. Or, if you steal my car, I will make sure that the mafia puts a hit out on you. And if the person threatens to shoot you, you could say you've already contacted the police with a full description of what the guy looks like, or that there are people around there with machine guns, and the only way that he'll be able to get out of there alive is if he leaves. If he decides not to, then you gave it your best shot. You could also just not say anything and punch him in the face, because he shouldn't be stealing your shit. You don't directly use the phrase, "That's not in our genes," or "It's counterproductive to our survival," or something weird like that, when trying to dissuade somebody from doing something. But you do the exact same thing in the roundabout way. In the example I gave earlier, there's almost no possibility of survival and or reproduction when you're in jail or dead. At least I hope not. When you're dead. Some bad morals, such as eugenics and social Darwinism, are based on misunderstandings of evolution. Therefore, it is important that evolution be taught well to negate such misunderstandings. The key to this argument is the word some. It is irrelevant whether some immoral behavior is based on misunderstanding of evolution. Then it is also irrelevant if any moral behavior comes because of the existence of religion. Same logic. The important thing is that some immorality does come from a correct understanding of evolution. According to the theory of evolution itself, assuming its chief mate in natural selection, the rule is whatever aids survival and reproduction of the genes. As not only my genes, but my DNA as well. As to the specific examples of eugenics and its sibling racism and racial genocide and social Darwinism, one only need use the subtitle of Darwin's Origins and the preservation of the favored races. I think that theoretically this one could today be labeled as libelous, but I'll explain it more in depth when it comes up in another creationist claim in this video, when I make it, if it's not already made by now. Despite claims otherwise, creationism has its own problems. For one thing, it is founded on religious bigotry, so the foundations of creationism are, by most standards, immoral. This statement is blatantly false. No, it's not. See the response to "it is bigotry to claim that the Bible creation is right." Once I make the video refuting their claim that they made there, it'll be seen here. One does not have to be a Christian to accept the biblical creation account. For example, a Jew or Muslim should not have any problems with it. Most Jews don't think about the creation story as anything more than a moral story, because they have no need for the Bible or the thing to be factually, historically accurate. They just needed to be able to be a good teacher. Muslims have a different idea than the creationism of biblical creationism. Plus, they also don't have any need for the Bible to be literally true. Quran, yeah, some of the fundies maybe, but not the Bible. Not fully, not solely. No. Regardless, it is irrelevant whether Christianity promotes religious bigotry or not. Is when they want to pass off evolution as bigoted and immoral. And it does absolutely nothing to refute the claim that evolution leads to an immoral worldview. I have done that well enough, I think. The logical conclusions of Christianity are communistic and batshit insane? Independent topic to the logical conclusions of evolution. Aww, I was wrong. Well, at least you admit evolution has logical conclusions. You're getting there. Probably the most effective weapon against bad morals is exposure and publicity. Evolution, and science in general, are based on a culture of making information public. Actually, the most effective weapon against bad morals is a firm foundation of good morals. And for Republicans, tanks, guns, and the destructions of homosexuals. Evolution removes the foundation for good morals, just as the Bible also removes a foundation for good morals when read literally, allowing murder, rape, incest, genocide, infanticide, slavery, and all other sorts of atrocities, allowing those who do not want morals to exploit others. It'll allow Christians to murder atheists. If you still want to deny it, you can off anybody who disagrees with you and force your beliefs on the entire planet, like being a creationist already shows that you want to. Scientists are their own harshest critics. They have developed code of ethical behavior for several circumstances, and they have begun to talk about a general ethics. Creationists have nothing similar. Many creationists are scientists. I've decided to be insanely generous today, and I'll just, because I'm feeling happier today. Okay, so let's say that 50% of creationists are scientists. From what I was able to count, I think there's 13 different areas of science. Only 4 of them apply to things creationists argue with. That would take it down to 50% of creationists. And because of there's only 4 areas, I'd say, yeah, let's go down to, I'll give you 2% as a high point. Now, out of that 2%, there's a number that are geocentrists and flat earthers. Many creationists think they're nuts. So I'm just going to reduce it by, let's go, small amount. Let's go down to 1.5%. Of that, the number of creation scientists who have had papers published in peer-reviewed journals that aren't specifically pro-creation for creation are, I'd say, maybe 5 papers, period. Maybe. The only way that I would qualify most creationists as scientists is if you count pseudoscientists as scientists, but then most of the people on the planet are scientists, and the word becomes useless. Because it would include astrologers, tarot card readers, palmists, numerologists, etc. Well, since creationism isn't science, so a separate professional code of ethics is not needed. Well, since creationism isn't science, and science is science, I would say yes, it does. Furthermore, creationists have the Bible as a foundation of ethics. Oh, bloody good. I was just wondering when I was able to start enacting 300 to 600 laws in Exodus and Leviticus and the Old Testament. I see that you don't have a beard. I don't shave, me. And most probably you have cut your hair. I have too. That's outlawed. Should we stone you? Most of the ethics of the Bible are anti-ethics. The Bible promotes things that are not only illegal, like murder, but immoral to almost all of modern society, which is firmer than any discussion based on subjective, human, or faulty evolutionary foundations. I'm not sure what that's called. I think that would be circular reason. It seems like the only reason they think that the evolutionary morals are faulty is because they don't accept evolution, and going by this argument, the reason they don't accept evolution is because the morals are faulty. Any claim about the nature of scientists applies to both creationists and evolutionists, unless it is first established there are no creationist scientists. Good thing we've established that, then. Some people feel better about themselves by demonizing others. Those people who are truly interested in morals begin by looking for immorality in themselves, not others. No disagreement here, but it is also irrelevant to the question of the relationship between evolution and immorality. And finally, evolution doesn't promote immorality. Biblical literalism does more than evolution.